Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates.
We're back with Assemblyman Oscarson. Outside of your time spent on the floor, you also served in some committees. What committees did you serve on?
I served on Health and Human Services, I served on Government Affairs, and I served on Legislative Operations and Elections. All fascinating committees and great opportunities for a freshman to really cut your teeth.
That's a pretty broad span of committees, too.
It is, and my background, as you know, is in health.
Right.
So Health and Human Services was a great one for me to hear the ins and outs and the things that we needed to do and didn't need to do. All the HHS department came and presented all their bills to us. So that was a great opportunity to hear what's going on and hear some of the issues, you know, the nurse practitioner autonomy bill, some of those kind of things that specifically affect rural Nevada. We all know there's a shortage of primary care doctors. We all know that primary care doctors with the Obamacare process coming in, that there's not going to be enough physicians. So we've got to use physician extenders, and we've got to use telemedicine, both of which we worked very diligently on in some instances to make sure that services were available and that autonomous kind of environment was available for them to utilize.
Similar to what you saw with PAs.
Absolutely, absolutely. Although there's not enough PAs, so the nurse practitioner has filled in the role there. There's a great nurse practitioner up in Beatty that just does an outstanding job. I visited her clinic several times, and I'm so impressed because that is the doctor in that community, and she has a huge knowledge base. She volunteers, does all kinds of things, and I'm very impressed with what that community can do, and I think that can be modeled in a lot of other communities. Community paramedicine is another one that we worked very hard on. We didn't get the bill heard, but we opened the door to the conversations where paramedics in some of these smaller communities would actually act as following up on patients who'd been discharged from the hospital. Where there's, and we're not saying take business away from home health care or from nurses.
Right.
We're saying where there is none of that. I mean, you know, in little tiny communities, but you've still got some paramedics and some EMTs that are trained to do things. Follow up after a patient's discharged from the hospital. Make sure that they're taking their medication. Make sure that they're not, you know, that they're not in need. It's
interesting.
And it's a resource that's available out there right now that can be used. REMS up in Northern Nevada got, I believe, a $10 million grant to study community paramedicine, and it's an issue that is a hot topic right now within legislatures.
And it's specifically rural.
It's specifically rural,
yeah.
and some of these areas where there's just not enough services.
Right.
And again, it's not intended to take anything away from nurses who have a specific practice act, from any of those folks. It's specifically designed to assist and unencumber them to take care of patients, but allow the process to move forward. In some instances, some of these bills, some of this legislation that's coming forward is very onerous to hospitals. If there's a readmission within X amount of days, regardless of really the hospital's fault or not, they get charged for that admission.
Right.
They have to pay for it. So it's incumbent on, and it's beneficial on the hospitals to have a resource to be able to check on these patients as they're discharged. Make sure they're changing their bandages, make sure they're taking their medication, make sure they're hydrated, those kind of things.
It's interesting because you think that the quality of care or the standard of care would stay the same, if not even get better,
Right.
for people that don't have access. And if the business of medicine, from say a hospital standpoint, is in support of it,
Right.
it feels like it's a natural progression.
It is, but there's always going to be, people are always going to think that it's trying to step in on their territory and you know, cramp their style.
Gotcha.
There's just never going to be enough medical healthcare professionals that are out there to take care of the services we need, especially with this expanded role of healthcare and the expanded volume of patients that are going to be taken in. So
It's going to be a big change.
it's going to be interesting to watch, and it's going to be great to facilitate and work with the changes that are going to happen. I look at it as a real opportunity, not as a challenge.
I'm sure your experience in that space, in your life in the private sector, was really needed in that committee.
Oh, I think there was a doctor on that committee. There was myself, somebody who has a home health care agency, and certainly our input, I hope, was valuable to them. I know that they look to us sometimes for some guidance and some direction. The chairman of that committee was very knowledgeable about healthcare and those issues, and so everybody's pretty well versed on Obamacare and what's going on. But it was great to be able to be an asset. Well, It was great, yeah, 2,000 pages. It was great to be an asset to that committee and feel like we really accomplished some good things and accomplished some good goals.
Well, again, from the legislator's standpoint, you have a unique position because there's plenty of lawyers up there.
There are plenty of lawyers.
There's not too many guys that actually have real healthcare experience.
And there was actually a lawyer, my roommate was actually a lawyer, was a JAG lawyer and a very bright, articulate man who has just great knowledge. And he and I discussed healthcare issues a lot, from where we were going to do things and how things were going to happen, and where the legal dilemma precluded the patient care issue, those kind of things. So there's some real dilemmas that are going to occur out in the field on those issues and in clinics, because there's going to be, like I say, it's not always going to be a doctor that's going to be treating you. It's going to be an extender of some kind.
And I wonder if with Obamacare or the ACA coming into effect, if people are going to switch their attitudes from "I must see a doctor" to "I just need some treatment."
I think there's a real possibility that that's going to happen. I'm hoping that through education, I'm hoping that through physicians educating, nurses educating, paramedics educating, all that whole, it's got to be a concerted healthcare team that's going to educate the people to say, here's when you really need to go to the emergency room, here's when you need to go to your doctor, and here's where you can gargle some salt water. Right. Those are not decisions for me to make, but those are educational processes, I think, that people are going to look at and see how they best fit. And the cost with the advent of healthcare supposedly costing less, we'll see what ends up happening. The real issues, Mike, are the shortage of primary care physicians, the shortage of healthcare professionals, and the shortage of facilities to be able to see them, especially in rural Nevada. So we're going to advocate for rural Nevada. The Silver State Health Exchange is working diligently, John Hager and his staff there, to make sure that there's resources for the people in rural Nevada. If it doesn't work for rural Nevada and it works for all the urban people, how are the people in rural Nevada going to feel?
It's tough.
It is tough.
It's a very tough thing for you that you're battling. So we have the exchange coming in line to start working the bugs out in fall of this year, and it sets in. On just a quick, we got about 30 seconds left. Session's out now, back to normal life?
No. It's not normal. I don't think it'll ever be normal again. As close to normal as it can be, but we've got a lot of committee meetings, a lot of things that we're talking about, a lot of legislation we're starting to work on. I had a group of podiatrists just 2 days ago that asked me if I'd bring a bill forward to change their practice, the way they can practice a little bit. So those wheels are all in motion. This is the great time to catch up, hear what people liked and they didn't like, try and fine tune it, explain to them what's going on and why it happened, and move forward. And I'm always accessible to them if they need to talk.
And have dinner with your wife.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being on tonight.
Mike,
I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next Thursday at 5:30.
Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates.